Okay, so, you guys have sent over a ton of really interesting stuff on personal finance and just building wealth.
Yeah,
And so much of it kind of keeps coming back to this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki.
right.
Um, and we've got this great summary of like the big ideas here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our goal in this deep dive is to really pull out like the most powerful insights that could actually, you know, change the way you think about your financial life,
Yeah.
like no matter where you are right now.
Absolutely. And I think what makes Rich Dad Poor Dad so compelling is that it kind of builds this whole framework around these two father figures, right?
Right.
You've got the poor dad, who is Kiyosaki's biological father, super educated, like PhD, but always struggling financially.
Oh, wow.
And then you've got Rich Dad, who is his friend's father, who's this self-made millionaire, but didn't even finish high school.
Oh, interesting.
And it's through that contrast, like those two philosophies, that I think the book's main lessons really come to life.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a really interesting setup.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into it. Um, One of the things that I found was just like such a fundamental kind of shift in perspective in the book is this idea of working for money versus having your money work for you.
Yeah, I think that's so key, right? Because it really highlights this like core difference in how people approach their finances. So the poor and middle class, they tend to operate on this, very basic exchange.
Yeah.
They trade their time for a paycheck.
Right.
It's like direct labor for income.
Exactly, yeah.
Whereas the wealthy, they focus on building and acquiring assets, things
Yeah.
that generate income without them having to be directly involved all the time, right? It's like planting seeds that then grow and produce fruit over time.
I like that analogy, yeah.
Yeah.
And this, this whole concept kind of leads into this thing called the rat race
Oh,
that
yeah.
Rich Dad talks about. And it's so vivid in the book.
It is.
It's that, like, you get up, you go to work, you pay your bills, and then you just do it all over again.
Yeah.
You're constantly relying on that next paycheck just to, like, keep things going, you know?
Exactly. And I think for a lot of people, it can feel like being stuck on a hamster wheel, right?
Totally, yeah.
You're running and running, but you're not really getting anywhere financially.
Right. It's exhausting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so for you listening, think about your own situation. Does it ever feel like you're just trying to, like, keep up?
Yeah, and to connect this back to kind of the bigger picture, it's really about control and independence.
Right.
When your financial well-being is totally tied to your salary, you're basically dependent on your employer.
That's true, yeah.
But building assets, that gives you the potential to create income streams that aren't linked to your working hours.
Yeah, like multiple sources.
Exactly. And that gives you more autonomy and more security,
Freedom, right.
Exactly. So the real question to ask yourself is, how can you start building even small streams of income that aren't directly tied to, how much time you put in?
That's a good question, yeah. So another big takeaway from the book, and this one really struck me, is just how crucial financial education is.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's presented as even more important than a high salary or
Right.
traditional education when it comes to building lasting wealth.
Yeah, and that really goes against the grain of what we're usually told, right?
Yeah.
Like, get good grades, go to a good college, get a good job.
Exactly, yeah.
But Rich Dad's philosophy is completely different. He believed that financial literacy, understanding things like income, expenses, assets, liabilities, and the basics of investing, that's the foundation of building wealth.
Right.
It's about learning the language of money, essentially.
So true. And there's this line from the book that I think really sticks with you.
Oh, yeah.
It's not how much money you make, but how much money you keep.
That's so good. Yeah.
It really highlights that idea that just having a big income doesn't automatically equal, financial success.
Right. It's what you do with it.
Yeah, it's about managing it well, protecting it, and making it grow.
Absolutely. And if you look at like our education systems, right, they mainly focus on preparing people to be employees, how to follow instructions, how to do specific tasks, but they often don't teach us the practical stuff we need for investing, for managing debt, for building wealth through like entrepreneurship and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm curious, for you, the listener, what kind of financial education have you actually received, and where do you feel like you might have some gaps in your knowledge about how money really works?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think about that a lot myself. Okay,
Yeah.
So moving on, let's talk about one of, I think, the most important concepts in Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Yeah.
which is the difference between assets and liabilities.
Oh, yes. This is huge.
This can be a real game changer in how you view your entire financial picture.
It really can. And Kiyosaki breaks it down in such a clear, practical way.
He does, yeah.
Assets, he says, are things that put money into your pocket. Think of a rental property where the rent you're getting covers all the expenses and then some, right? Or stocks that pay dividends, which is basically a share of the company's profits, or a business that's doing well and making a profit, or even intellectual property like a book or software that earns royalties.
Right, yeah.
These are all things that are working to bring you cash flow.
Okay, so that's assets, and then liabilities. Those are the things that kind of do the opposite.
Exactly. Liabilities take money out of your pocket.
Yeah.
And this is where a lot of people have blind spots. We're talking about your mortgage payments, your car loans, credit card debt, even those subscriptions you signed up for and never really use.
Yeah.
All of these are constantly draining your cash flow.
That's true.
And what's really insightful is how Kiyosaki challenges this common idea that your home is your biggest asset.
Oh, yeah.
While it might increase in value over time, if you're paying more in mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, maintenance than you're making from it, if any, then according to his definition, it's actually a liability.
Interesting.
The wealthy, he says, focus on acquiring income-generating assets.
Okay.
So instead of just trying to own the biggest house, they might invest in a smaller property that they can rent out, for example.
Gotcha.
It's all about the cash flow.
Right. So an asset adds to your cash flow, a liability subtracts from it.
Precisely.
So this really forces you to look at everything you own through a whole new lens.
It does.
Like what's really working for you financially and what's costing you money every month.
Yeah, it's a great exercise to do, actually.
Yeah, totally. So for everyone listening, take a second to think about like, what do you own? Which of those things are actually making you money and which ones are costing you money each month?
Right.
Okay, so moving on, Rich Dad also had this principle of learning over earning,
Oh, yeah.
at least in the early stages of your financial journey. And this can be kind of counterintuitive, especially when, you need money now.
Yeah, it goes against that instinct to just chase the highest paying job immediately.
Exactly. But his advice was to look for work that gives you valuable skills and knowledge.
Right.
Especially in areas like sales, marketing, and investing.
Yeah.
Even if the salary isn't, the best right away.
And that's because those skills will be way more valuable over time, right?
Yeah, he was really thinking long term.
He was.
And actually, he took lower paying jobs himself just to get experience in those key areas.
That's right. He understood that mastering those skills would pay off way more in the long run than just trying to maximize his salary right away.
Yeah, it's like investing in yourself and your own future earning potential.
It is. It's like investing in your own human capital.
Exactly. So for everyone listening, think about this. Are there any specific skills you could be learning right now that could really boost your financial future?
Right. Even if it means taking a job that doesn't pay as much as you'd like right now.
Yeah, or maybe it's volunteering for a role that gives you some experience in a new area.
Or taking an online course in investing, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Anything that can kind of help you, level up your skills.
Totally.
So that kind of leads us to the next big lesson, which is all about embracing entrepreneurship and taking calculated risks.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And this can be a huge hurdle for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely, because it goes against that desire for stability and security that we're often conditioned to seek out, right?
Yeah, it's like we're programmed to play it safe. But the book really pushes for stepping outside that traditional employee mindset.
Right.
And being willing to embrace the risks that come with, starting a business or investing.
Yeah, and it's a total shift away from that risk-averse mentality that we often associate with the poor dad way of thinking.
Totally.
But it's important to note that it's about calculated risks.
Right.
It's not about being reckless.
Oh, it's about being smart about it.
Exactly. It's about really looking at the opportunities, understanding the potential downsides, and then being willing to step outside your comfort zone when the potential rewards are worth it.
Right. And Kiyosaki talks about his own experience with bankruptcy in the book.
He does.
Which is a pretty powerful example of this.
Yeah, that was obviously a big setback for him.
Yeah.
But he framed it as a huge learning experience.
Yeah.
That ultimately helped him achieve even greater financial success later on.
It's about learning from your mistakes, basically.
Exactly. Failure isn't the end of the story if you can analyze what happened and adapt.
Right. It's all part of the process.
Yeah.
So for everyone listening, think about your own relationship with risk. Are there opportunities you might be missing out on because you're afraid of failing?
Right.
Or could you benefit from taking a more calculated approach to, new ventures or investments?
It's definitely worth considering.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the last thing I want to touch on is this idea of mindset.
Oh, mindset is everything.
which might seem a little less concrete than, talking about assets and liabilities.
All right, it's more intangible.
Yeah, but it's arguably the foundation for all your financial decisions.
It really is. It's like the underlying operating system.
And the book has this great contrast between poor dad's typical phrase, which is, I can't afford it,
Yeah.
and rich dad's phrase, which is, how can I afford it?
Oh, that's such a perfect illustration.
Right. It just shows the difference between a scarcity mindset and an abundance mindset.
Totally. One shuts down possibilities instantly.
Yeah.
And the other one opens up your mind to solutions.
Yeah. And the I can't afford it mentality can become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Absolutely.
It stops you from even considering other options.
Right.
But the how can I afford it question, that sparks creativity, makes you problem solve.
Yeah. It pushes you to be proactive in finding ways to reach your goals.
Exactly.
And that's what a wealthy mindset is all about, according to the book.
Yeah.
It's about being open to learning, taking action, and thinking long term.
It's about believing in yourself, basically.
Yeah, believing that financial success is possible for you.
Right. So true. So for everyone listening, take a moment to think about your own internal dialogue around money. Does it tend to limit you, or does it empower you to find opportunities and solutions?
That's a great question to reflect on.
Yeah, because ultimately I think what Rich Dad, Poor Dad is really about is changing how you think about money and your relationship with it.
Absolutely. It's not just about getting rich. It's about developing a whole new way of thinking about how money works.
Yeah, and how you can make it work for you.
Exactly.
So to kind of wrap things up, this deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad has highlighted a key message. Building wealth is about a lot more than just earning a high income. It's about understanding the fundamentals of finance, actively acquiring assets that generate passive income, continuing to learn about finance and investing, developing skills that can bring you income outside of a traditional job, being willing to take smart risks,
Yeah.
and most importantly, cultivating a mindset of abundance and possibility.
Those are the key ingredients.
Yeah.
And these insights really do offer a blueprint for a different financial path. It's about prioritizing building assets over accumulating liabilities, becoming a lifelong learner in the world of finance, developing skills that can generate income outside of a 9-to-5, approaching risk with thoughtfulness, not fear, and truly believing in your potential to create lasting wealth.
That's the heart of it.
So as you consider all of this, what's one small change you can make in your financial thinking or actions starting today?
Yeah, what's one small step you can take?
Maybe it's reading a chapter of a personal finance book this week, or taking a look at your monthly spending to see where you can cut back,
Yeah.
or even just consciously trying to ask yourself, how can I afford this, instead of immediately saying I can't afford this.
Right. That shift in language can make a big difference.
Yeah, it's definitely worth thinking about, and maybe even exploring some of the many resources out there that can help you on your financial journey.
There's a lot of great information out there. Yeah, for sure. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for listening.